This is Joseph Phillips. In this presentation, I want to walk through some principles of estimating the project cost that you'll need to know for your PMP examination. This is from Chapter 7 of the PMBOK, and one of the things that we get into in the PMBOK is the idea of how do we go about estimating the cost of our projects. One of the most common approaches that we see today is with analogous estimating. An analogous estimate means that we create an analogy between two similar projects. So for example, we have project A that perhaps it costs $350,000 and project B, which is slightly larger in scope but similar. So we guess, based on the details of project A, that project B will cost $400,000 because of the similarity between the two. It's sometimes called a top-down approach. It's very quick but not very reliable, and you have to have accurate historical information. I mean, we have to have a lot of confidence in the cost of project A to predict the cost of project B. Another approach that we use is parametric estimating. This means that we have a cost parameter. So for example, $329 per software license, or $4,500 per metric ton, or some other parameter that we use to predict the cost of the project. Now, this is good when we have projects that you have lots of units, like square feet or metric tons or cost per unit if you're in manufacturing, but it's not very reliable if we are, for example, creating software, because then we're billing by hours. You know, how does that work out? How do you predict how long something's going to take if you've never done the project before? So there's a lot of qualifiers with a parametric estimate. You have to have some experience in that type of work to accurately predict how long and how much that project will take. Now, one thing that we have to look at with parametric estimating is the idea of the learning curve. So we have a current level of efficiency doing a task on the first day. So again, let's say that we are painting 1,000 hotel rooms. When we go in to paint that first hotel room, it might take us 10 hours to paint. But as we do that activity over and over and over, we're going to reach a higher level of efficiency because we've mastered that activity. So what the learning curve describes is this idea that we take a dip, that we have to go backwards in productivity and efficiency in order to go forwards to reach a new higher plane of efficiency. Now, why that's relevant to parametric estimating, if we base our cost estimate on the first hotel room that it takes us 10 hours to do, and then we master that activity, our time is actually going to be reduced, and the same results are going to come out of the activity that we've mastered. So we have to consider the learning curve, especially if we are a vendor and we're looking at what are we going to charge an organization for the work. It may not be, especially if we're doing a time and materials, it may not be an accurate reflection of how long the activity is actually going to take. Sometimes this is called regression analysis, that you're studying that you have to go backwards in order to go forwards to reach a new level of efficiency. Bottom-up estimating is based on the work breakdown structure. It's also known as a definitive estimate. You take the cost of each work package, and then those are rolled up, they're aggregated to the sum of what the project is going to cost. It's the most reliable estimate, but it also takes the longest to create. A 3-point cost estimate is really just an average, that we take the optimistic cost plus the most likely cost plus the pessimistic, and we divide that by 3. It's very similar to PERT. A PERT estimate, it stands for Program Evaluation and Review Technique. In this example, though, notice that PERT, the formula is optimistic plus 4 times the most likely plus pessimistic divided by 6. The answers you'll receive are the same, or not, I shouldn't say the same, they're similar, but there will be a little bit of difference between the two. So you can see on the first one, with just using my 3-point estimate, I get a $52,000, and then with PERT, you can see it would be a little bit different amount. Now, the results of creating a cost estimate. Depending on how deep you are in your project, you're going to have a ROM, a budget, or a definitive estimate. Very early in the project, where there's not a lot of information, you would create a ROM estimate. So it's negative 25% to plus 75%. A budget estimate is negative 10% to plus 25, and a definitive, when we have a lot of information available, negative 5% to plus 10%. So those are just some fundamentals that you'll need to be familiar with for your PMP exam.